News starts now.
Tonight, an exclusive inside look into the price-fixing corruption scandal at Micron Technology.
An investigation that includes damning evidence and reasons why jurors believe one of Micron's top executives lied on the stand. It's the big story you'll see only on 6. Micron Technology admits its top managers broke the law to make a buck.
And some believe those same executives lied under oath to stay out of prison. Reporter Shane Johnson has exclusive details on Micron's price-fixing scandal in tonight's big story.
Don, Michelle, Micron agreed to cooperate with federal investigators to keep its own executives out of jail. But jurors I talked with say that in the international price-fixing case believe Micron was the most corrupt company of them all. Lombard Street in San Francisco, the crookedest street in the world. A fitting place to start a story about crooked deals in the high-pressure, high-tech world of DRAM manufacturing. It's also fitting because the city by the bay is the first place where details of Micron's admitted crooked deals were publicly exposed in federal court, and where Idaho's largest employer fogged up a trial on global price fixing. Micron cut a deal to keep its vice president of worldwide sales, Mike Sadler, and possibly other executives out of prison. In exchange, Sadler would testify to his wrongdoings, but jurors say his testimony looks to have cost the feds the trial.
He was thorny for us, yeah. It was tough to swallow it all.
Phyllis McCaughey headed up the jury that spent weeks on the case. In a city famous for Alcatraz, the defendant, Hynix executive Gary Swanson, was looking at 3 years of hard time and hundreds of thousands in fines for colluding with Micron and others to fix DRAM prices. The feds hoped their star witness from Micron would help get the conviction, but in the end, most of the jury didn't buy it and had some strong words about Mike Sadler's role.
The prosecution had him set up as their star witness, and yet none of the facts bore out.
McCaughey went so far as to call Sadler a, quote, lying sack of, saying the jury thought price fixing was Sadler's idea, and point to a trip he testified to taking in hopes of stabilizing production with the other companies.
He admitted that that was a slam dunk in illegality. That was his quote.
Today's Channel 6 News has exclusively obtained evidence presented by prosecutors, and it points to how jurors could think Sadler was in charge of everything. Email after email reference Sadler and Micron. This one from a Hynix salesperson says he got a call from Micron unsolicited to tell them the price they were selling to Gateway. Another one says never make statements in emails that you spoke with the competition. Lawyers love these babies. And the list goes on and on and on. Have you talked to Mike? I hope you can do something with Mike. One email subject is even titled Mike Sadler.
His participation in the whole thing was basically the only one that could have been proven.
11-1 was the final tally in the jury room. Joe Supple was the only one that thought the government's case was strong enough.
It was hard not to see it. It was slapping him in the face.
But even he didn't trust Micron's Mike Sadler.
We have to decide what's valid, what's true, what's not true, what we give way to, what we don't give way to. Yeah, that was Mike Sadler. That was exactly the problem with him.
Yeah, they put all their chips on the table with Sadler.
That's right.
And it backfired.
That's right. That's right.
Supple believes most of the jury took a line in the jury instructions too literally. The line essentially reads that you should take Sadler's testimony with greater caution because it may have been influenced by the deal he cut to stay out of prison.
You know, some people look at caution as being distrust. You distrust it.
But for the jury forewoman, the real crime was that the feds were going after pawns in the price-fixing game while letting the king off the hook.
There was just no way that we could feel he hadn't had plenty to do with whatever was going on. And he certainly looked like a ringleader to us.
And what about Steve Appleton? Could all this have really happened without his okay? He was called to testify, and jurors tell me he said under oath that he had no idea what was going on. This email introduced as evidence shows how much he wanted Hynix out of the DRAM business. But jurors believe Appleton had no clue what Sadler was up to.
So Appleton came across impressively, but, you know, again, he's oblivious of what's going on in his own company.
Now, we asked to talk to Micron executives, but the company would only release a brief statement saying they are cooperating with the federal investigation and that they are not subject to prosecution, fines, or other penalties because of the deal they cut. They also refused to go on camera with us. Now, Micron is still facing a civil lawsuit, including one that involves several states, including Idaho. Reporting live in Boise, Shane Johnson, today's Channel 6 News.
Those lawsuits threaten to cost Micron hundreds of millions of dollars at a time when they're already bleeding loads of cash, and that got our news director thinking about the man who at one time was one of Micron's biggest investors. You can read his blog, J.R. Simplot, and Once Mighty Micron on our website, KIVI-TV.com.